What I've read lately. 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 Ooh. Okay, if I can just find what I've read lately, that'd be great. That would be great. All right, I got my list. I'm ready. Got my list. I'm ready. La, 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 la. Hi, my magical reading unicorns. I am back with another episode of Whirl, or What I've Read Lately, as I like to call it. And I have had the best 2 weeks of reading, the past 2 weeks of this year. I mean, it has been amazing. I've had so many 5-star reads and reads that just, books that I have come to absolutely love and adore, and that will definitely make it into my lifetime favorites. It's kind of exciting, and I cannot wait to talk to you all about these books. And I definitely also have some more 3-star reads in here, but the amount of 5-star reads I've read in the last 2 weeks is kind of amazing, especially when it has nothing to do with J.K. Rowling. So like I said, this is about the past 2 weeks of reading, so the last week of May and the very first week of June. And as many of y'all know, the first week of June was the TBR Takedown Readathon, which was started by Leaning Lights. Shannon over on that channel, she started that readathon, and I kind of participated. There were rules and challenges, of which I really didn't do any of them. I just kind of took it as motivation to read. So this past week, today is Tuesday the 9th, so this past week, the first week of June, I read so many books, y'all. It's insane. But let's just go ahead and jump right into them. So we're starting with the last week of May, and the first book I want to talk about, the first 2 books I want to talk about, are both by Willow Spencer, who I love. And the first one I read is called Twice Loved, and the second one I read is called Small Town Girl. And these are both romance novels, and Willow Spencer is an amazing writer. I mean, her detail and her attention to plot and how she can write emotions, and she's such a good writer. I love her stuff. And she mostly focuses on like early 19th century, like mid to late 1800 type time periods. And I guess her most contemporary would be like the 90s. So anyways, this first one I read, Twice Loved, it takes place on Nantucket. Sidebar, there have been a lot of books I've read this month that took place in Nantucket. Yeah, talk about that more later. But this takes place on Nantucket, but it's not modern day. I want to say it's like 1837. And it's about a woman whose husband goes out to sea. He is a whaler, and 5 long years pass, and he is supposedly goes down in the shipwreck. And so she remarries. She marries her husband's best friend. It was like 3 of them growing up. They're all best friends. It was like her and these 2 boys. So she marries the other guy, and then her husband comes home, and she's married to the other guy, his best friend. So before her husband left too, before he went out to sea, she got pregnant and she gave birth to his son, and so he's missed 5 years of his son's life, and his son has grown up thinking this other guy is his father. So there's a lot of stuff. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I think I gave this 4 stars. Let me check with my Goodreads. I read so many books, y'all, that I honestly cannot remember all the books I've read and like, what I gave them and all that. Yes, 4 stars. Oh my gosh, yes, I gave this 4 stars. I loved it. I highly recommend this book and anything by Willow Spencer. Well, with the exception of like maybe 1 book. But this is fantastic. Then the other Willow Spencer book I read is Small Town Girl, and this takes place in the 90s, and it's about this famous country music star who hasn't been home in 15 years, and she grew up in this tiny small town, and she comes back home to help her mother because her mother's getting surgery, and all of her sisters are like, nah man, it's your turn, you haven't been home in forever, and it's your turn to help mom because this is her second surgery. It's like a hip surgery. And so she comes home, and there's the boy next door, and he's a father now. He has like a 15-year-old no, he has a 17-year-old daughter, I think. 17-year-old daughter. She's a senior in high school. And when they were growing up, they did not get along. She like hated him because he was like this huge nerd and she made fun of him. So you have that dynamic and you know they're going to fall in love. And this book literally does read like a country song. It is so cute, but like a 90s country song, like Shania Twain or some Faith Hill, you know what I'm saying? And I just loved it. It was so enjoyable to read. Every page was a delight. I was so sad when I turned the last page. You know, it had its cheesy, corny, predictable moments, but more than that, I really enjoyed this, and it was really cool to like see some like behind the scenes 90s country music scene type stuff. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, I recommend this one as well. I gave this 3.5 stars, I think. I don't know. Oh my god, I don't know. 3.5 stars. The next book I read is a reread. I first read it years ago. I think the first time I was 14 when I first read it, and that's when I first kind of was discovering Marian Keyes. And this book is Watermelon, which is Marian Keyes' very first novel, and this is in the chick lit genre. By the way, I freaking hate that it's called chick lit. How misogynistic can you get? But that's a whole nother video, whole nother topic for another time. I love Marian Keyes. She writes women's fiction, contemporary women's fiction like no one else, okay? Like Sophie Kinsella has nothing on this woman, and she's just brilliant. This novel, Watermelon, like I said, it's her first novel, and it's the first in a series following the Walsh family, which has 5 sisters, and each book focuses on a different sister. This book focuses on Claire. She is the oldest, and the plot is insane. So she's been married to this guy. She's been married to James for a couple years now. They've been together for a while, and she's giving birth to their first child. She's in the hospital, okay? She's just given birth. James walks in and is like, "Oh, Claire, by the way, I'm leaving you. I want a divorce, and I've had a lover for the past year, and I want to go off with this other woman." Of course, Claire is devastated. Here she is, a new mom with a newborn. Her husband's just left her. Her life is in shambles. What is she gonna do? Guys, this novel is brilliant. When I first read it when I was 14, it quickly became like my favorite book for a while. And rereading it really made me rediscover this and see why I loved it so much. And it's still one of my favorites. It's gonna keep its place on my favorite shelf. This book is so funny. Oh my gosh, Claire has quickly become forever one of my favorite female protagonists. She is hilarious. She is honest. She is raw. Her insecurities are so relatable. You know, I have made a whole video about whiny and insecure female protagonists, and they're just annoying. Claire, no. You completely get her. You get her insecurities. You root for her. You bleed with her. You cry with her. You laugh with her. Her family is amazing. A cast of characters. They are hilarious. I cannot recommend this enough. 5 stars. Read it. Go read this book. After that, I picked up Saint Anything by Sarah Dessen, and I love me some Sarah Dessen. Y'all, if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you know that she was one of my favorite authors when I was a preteen to my early teenage years, and I've pretty much read everything she's ever written. So when she comes out with a new book, the 13-year-old girl in me squeals and has to go pick it up. So of course I picked up Saint Anything, and this one focuses on a girl whose family is completely falling apart. Young Sydney has grown up in a wealthy family, and she has a brother, an older brother, who she used to look up to. They used to be really close, but somewhere down the line something went wrong, and he just started getting in trouble with the law a lot. And finally he kind of does the unthinkable. He is on probation, and he drives home intoxicated, and he ends up hitting a young boy on a bicycle late at night, to the point where the young boy is now paralyzed from the waist down. So now her brother is in prison. Yes. And Sydney is just going through her own stuff. She just wants her family to see her for who she is. They've been so focused on her brother for so long that she just wants, you know, some attention on her, and she wants her family to recognize her for what she's done, because she's kind of like that goody perfect child, but it doesn't matter because no one notices her and her family because her brother takes up all the attention with his bad behavior. So this book is just about her finding her own way, learning to find her voice, and then we have some side plots as well with her falling in love for the first time, meeting this new group of friends, and just like spreading her wings and really learning who she is, learning about, you know, just life growing up and learning how to deal with all this stuff that's going on in her family. I really enjoyed this. I gave this 3 stars. I might bump it up to 3.5. The beginning, I say the first 60% of the novel was just beautiful. I just was loving it so much. It was 4 stars for like the first 60%. And then the last 40% kind of got really just predictable. Like I just knew exactly what was going to happen. The whole Saint Anything, where the title comes from, just became like really cheesy and obvious. It seems like Sarah Dessen just like threw that in there to make the title make sense. It wasn't finessed well. It wasn't done with delicacy. It was just kind of like, here, the title comes from this. And I didn't like that. And I didn't like how predictable it got at the end. I didn't like how just everything was just wrapped up nicely into a neat bow. I didn't think that was necessary. I think this is one of those books that could have had a more like rough around the edges, open-ended ending, and that would have made more sense in terms of this world. I've also read a lot of reviews where they say that they think that Sarah Dessen was trying to do too much in this novel, like just way too many side plots and too many things going on with the characters, and I agree. But otherwise, I gave it 3 solid stars. I enjoyed it. I will maybe reread it. Not sure. It's not my favorite Sarah Dessen, but I do recommend it for people who love her writing. After I read that, I read on my e-reader, on my Kindle, Last to Know, Willow Creek Book 1 by Michaela Smeltzer. And this is a young adult novel centering around a band, I want to say. And y'all, when I say this novel is forgettable, this novel is forgettable. Like, I don't remember what it was about. I don't remember what happened. That's why I'm looking on my phone on Goodreads. I gave it 2 stars because it's forgettable. Like, I don't remember it at all. I will never reread it. Yeah, there's a band called Willow Creek. There's a girl who falls in love with the drummer, right? The drummer. Yeah. Guys, don't read it. It's forgettable. Nobody cares. Moving on with our lives. Obsidian. This is the bind up of the first 2 books in the Lux series. I read Obsidian and half of Onyx by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And I read Obsidian like a long time ago when it first came out, and so it was basically a reread, but I realized I didn't finish it, so I was like, okay. I enjoyed it. It took me by surprise how much I did enjoy it, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. The second book, Onyx, I'm only halfway through it, so we'll see what I end up giving it. But so far, this is a very enjoyable series. It's not going to become one of my favorites, but I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I'm really enjoying it. Next up, oh my gosh, is a book that I am so excited to talk about. I cannot even. And this is going to definitely become one of my favorite series of all time, no doubt. And I picked up book 1 in the Starcrossed series by Josephine Angelini. Oh my god, this is a young adult fantasy series that I am now just in love with. This is just, this is amazing. I highly recommend you go pick this up because it is so good. I gave this 5 stars because I love everything. I love the characters. I love the world. I love the plot. I love the plot twists. I did not see them coming. And this centers around Greek mythology, which is so great because you can do so much with Greek mythology and the Greek gods. And this is basically about Helen, and it's a twist on the Helen of Troy myth, and I don't want to talk too much about it because I went into it kind of blind and it was perfection. So I will link it in the bottom bar, the Goodreads page in the bottom bar description box thingy. You know what I'm talking about. Link below. Go check it out. I highly recommend this. This was such a 5-star read. I love this. And this is the first book. So if I'm raving about this, y'all know that this is excellent. Josephine Angelini has got a forever fan in me, and I cannot say enough good things about this. This is amazing. After I read that, I didn't have book 2 yet. It was still on hold at my library, and I didn't have a chance to go pick it up yet. So I picked up Open Road Summer by Emery Lord. I was looking for something cutesy, contemporary, light and fun, and this hit the spot and fit the bill perfectly. I loved this. This was so enjoyable. The entire time I was reading this, I had Our Song by Taylor Swift stuck in my head on a loop, on repeat, over and over and over. Because this reads like that song, like for real. It reads like a Taylor Swift song, which is perfect. Because this is about a young girl by the name of Reagan, and her best friend Lila is a country music star who, I have a feeling that character was based off of Taylor Swift, like early Taylor Swift, you know, when she had the curls and she used to wear dresses with cowboy boots all the time. But yes, I think that her best friend Delilah, I think her full name is Delilah, and her like star name is Lila, but to her best friend she goes by D. And it's just this summer they both had their hearts broken. Reagan is kind of a bad girl, like for real. She's gotten in trouble with the law type bad girl. And Dee is kind of this sweet Taylor Swift type. Her fans love her. She has a squeaky clean image. Both of them have just had their hearts broken though. Their boyfriends have just dumped them. So Dee, or Delilah, invites her best friend Reagan onto tour with her. She's like, hey, come on tour with me for the summer and let's just have a best friend summer and forget this crap that our hearts have just been through. Like, let's just have the best summer ever. So the book starts off with these two girls on the road, and it's so cool to have a book about a superstar being the secondary character. Like, we're focused on her best friend Reagan, who's not famous at all. She's just a normal girl, and her best friend just happens to be a megastar. That's a cool perspective. I enjoyed it. And of course, you know, there's going to be a romance in here. I'm not going to spoil it for you. But there is a romance, and this is just a beautiful book about friendship and love and summer and adventure and growing up and becoming a better person, learning from your mistakes, becoming more self-aware, learning how to take responsibility for your actions, and I really enjoyed it. I'd say that the first half is better than the second half because the second half gets kind of cheesy and just predictable. There's a misunderstanding between the two love interests that just was so unnecessary. Like, it didn't need to happen. I feel like it was thrown in there because the author felt like they needed some conflict in their relationship, and the author wanted to keep the two lovers apart for a while to cause some drama. But it just felt so contrived to me, and that's what made me only give this one, I want to say I gave it 3 stars. Instead of the 3.5 stars, 4 stars I was going to give it. But I think I gave this 3.5 stars. I'm not sure. I'll put the actual rating down here somewhere. But I knocked off half a star because it just, the end was not my fave. But still a good time, okay? Still a good time. After that, I read another ebook I got from my library, and this was another 5-star read, and it's Vivian Apple at the End of the World by Katie Coyle. You guys, I loved this book. I'm gonna link my Goodreads review below because I freaking raved about this in my Goodreads review. Everyone needs to read this book. Now, it's not perfect. That's not why I gave it 5 stars. But the effect emotionally and mentally it had on me was huge, huge, huge. I'm still thinking about the plot. I'm still thinking about the characters and just everything. And there's gonna be a sequel. It's coming out soon. I'll put the date down here. And I'll put the Goodreads page for the sequel as well. I highly recommend that you read this first book though. It's so good. You definitely have to suspend your disbelief a lot. It's basically about a young girl whose parents get raptured at the end of the world because this cult has kind of taken over America, and you have all these fanatical religious people, and they believe this certain set of beliefs that the world is going to come to an end on a certain day, and they're going to be raptured up and they're going to be in heaven while the rest of the world basically goes to hell in a handbasket. And, you know, there are a lot of things about the plot that were just like, logistically to me, they were very hard to believe. So I had to seriously suspend my disbelief for a lot of it. But the plot to me was still genius. What really carries this novel is the characters and how you really fall in love with Vivian, who's our main female protagonist. She is amazing. She is strong and yet vulnerable, and you understand her and you root for her and you really have compassion for her. You really are just wanting her to kind of like stand up for herself, and she does, which is so great. Her character arc is amazing. Her best friend is amazing as well. I can't remember her name at the moment, but her best friend is great and is a great foil for Vivian. Of course, there's a little love story in there, but it's not overwhelming. It's not overdone or ridiculous or, you know, just unbelievable for the plot. I mean, it's the end of the world. And I can't say enough good things. I can't say enough good things. Please read this. It's so good, you guys. I loved it. You can suspend your disbelief a lot, especially if you're an atheist or you just, you know, you're not down with the religion, then you definitely will have to suspend your disbelief. But otherwise, brilliant book. Brilliant. Loved it. Oh, guys. Oh, yes. I picked up The Air by Kiera Cass, and I don't even want to talk about this in this video because I'm going to have a whole separate video about this. I gave this 5 stars. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Little teaser for my video coming up about this, okay? 5 stars. I am definitely going against the grain of majority popular opinion on this one, but I freaking loved this. I love this better than the first 3 books in the selection series combined. Yes. And I love Edelyn. Everyone's calling her a brat. No, I adore her. And once again, I just want to say thank you to Sarah from Sarah Actually Reads for encouraging me and inspiring me to go ahead and pick this up despite all the negativity I'd heard surrounding this. That's all I'm going to say. Zipping my lips. Stay tuned for the video on this one. After The Air, I had the loveliest reading experience ever. I quickly went ahead and picked up book 2 in the Starcrossed series because I finally went to the library and picked it up. And this is called Dreamless, and I read this, guys, like in a day. I kid you not. It was like 4 hours, and I devoured it, and I gave it 5 stars. And I don't end on about this series, but this series has turned me into a fangirl for life. I cannot. Oh my god, I'm obsessed. Obviously, I can't talk about this because it would spoil book 1, but seriously, read this. Read it. After that, I had the most magical, like, almost 48 hours ever. I read To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. I laughed, I cried, I giggled, I smiled, I fell in freaking love with Jenny Han and with the characters in this novel. Like, Lara Jean is like my spirit animal. She is the sweetest, most just naive, fashion forward, like cutest, nicest. Oh, I love her. So after I read this, I ran, to my shelf, picked up book 2, P.S. I Still Love You, devoured it in like 4 hours, maybe 3, laughed, I cried, oh my god, these two are probably the best, definitely top 10 contemporary young adult novels I have ever read in my life. Like, Jenny Han's writing is magical. There's nothing contrived about this. The plot flows seamlessly. Like, you don't really know what's going to happen, but you are enjoying the journey. It's not predictable. It's not overdone. It's not corny. It's so realistic. I mean, I made a video called Why I Hate YA Novels, like all the cliches, YA cliches. This had none of that, okay? It was so realistic. This is about Lara Jean, basically. You know, she has these love letters she's written to these 5 boys, and they're secret, and she keeps them in this hat box. And then one day, they all get sent out, and whoa, does stuff start to happen from there. She does end up falling in love slowly with, you know, one of the boys, from one of the letters. And it just felt so real because it wasn't like, oh, this is her soulmate for the rest of her life. No, it was high school romance, like your first love type stuff. And I just want to say, if you've read the books, or even if you haven't, I am definitely team John Ambrose McClaren. Like, oh my god. I'm not that person that has book boyfriends, but if I was, he'd be in my #1 slot after Poe from Graceling, okay? John Ambrose McClaren is I freaking love him. And I need Jenny Han to decide to not make this a duology and make it a trilogy and write a 3rd book. And I need John Ambrose McClaren to be like all over that, okay? Like chocolate sauce on a sundae. I need it. I need it to happen. I need it now. Jenny Han, you watching? Give the people what they want. Seriously. Book 3. I need it. I need it now. And after that magical moment, I ran and finally picked up book 3 in the Starcrossed series, which is the 3rd and final book. Dun 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 dun! Goddess. And y'all, I'm gonna be so sad when this series is over, and so instead of just reading it in one sitting, I've been slowly reading this. I am not even halfway through. I don't know if you can really see that. I'm not even halfway through yet because I'm just savoring this. I do not want this series to be over because it's quickly become one of my favorite series of all time. And book 2 freaking broke my heart into pieces, and I just hope book 3 puts it back together again. So far, I'm still hurting. I am still hurting. Pieces of my heart all over the floor. So I need this book to pull them all back together because, oh my god, it's so good. I cannot. I feel like this whole video is just dedicated to the Starcrossed series. I'm okay with it. Here comes the book tower. So I can show you all the books I read this freaking last 2 weeks. I don't know why I do this to myself. Alright, I got it all together. So these are all the books that I have read in the past 2 weeks. I know it's insanity. I've read, gosh, how many physical books? Technically, I've read 12 books because I'm still in the middle of Onyx, which is book 2 in the Lux series, and I'm still in the middle of Goddess, which is book 3 in the Starcrossed series. And then I did read those 2 ebooks. So it's 14 books, but I'm still in the middle of 2 out of those 14. So I've read 12 full, like, complete books. So here they are again. I hope you guys can see all of them. The curse of not having a viewfinder. You know, we do what we can. So yeah, these are all the books I've read in the past 2 weeks. Thank you so much for watching the 2nd episode of Whirl. I cannot wait to edit it. And I hope it wasn't too long, but if it was, I hope you still enjoyed it. And I will catch you in episode 3 in like another 2 weeks probably. I need to put this down, guys. I'm sorry. So that is it for this video. This is OhSheReads, and thank you for watching, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye, guys.